Hi, this is Mateusz from TACPlan. Switching from your Gantt chart to location-based scheduling gives you much more flexibility and options, for instance, in dependencies. Let me show you a couple of examples. Here we have a simple example of the 10-story building project divided on a couple of basic tasks. So we have the structure, facades, sanitary and electrical installations, and fit-out last. First, I would like to implement some buffer between the structure and facade because now it's a little bit too tight. And of course, I can just implement the buffer with the numbers of days, but then I need to remember about this. It may be changed. It can be a little bit problematic. What I can do instead is just to enter facade to the dependency tab and then implement a location delay. Let's say I would just put a number of 2. As you can see now, we have a structure on level 1, structure level 2 and structure level 3 completed, and then facade on the floor number 1 starts. So we have 2 levels, in our cases 2 locations, space between those tasks before the next task starts. Another quite popular case is that we have some external works performed by third party and we would like to add some dependencies between our projects and that activities they perform. So let's imagine that we need to connect our electrical installations to some external connection which is performed by the electrical company, and this is performed not in our building but in some area next to it. So let's imagine that we have some external technical room where those works will be conducted. And then in this technical room we have task which is like, for instance, external connection. What we need to remember about this, that now by default it's distributed across all our locations, but of course it's not being conducted inside of our building, so only external technical room is the place where this task is performed. Let's switch the number of days, for instance for 10, and let's put a basic finish start connection between the structure and this connection, because let's say that we need to start those activities after the whole structure is ready. So now if we go to the takt time view, it can be a little bit disappointing because we've just entered the dependency between the structure and external connection and it still starts from the very beginning of the schedule. Why is like this? This is quite frequently asked question and the answer is very simple. Because those tasks don't share any locations. If we enter the external connection tasks, as you probably remember, we have only external technical room location. For the structure is everything but external technical room. So from logical perspective, it is correct that those tasks do not interfere, then therefore they don't block themselves and they don't depend and they start as soon as possible. But of course, in our case, we would like to put some dependency on it. We can do it in the dependencies tab. Please make note that here now we can see that you have this yellow icon showing that this dependency is not working. And if we just move one level up, which is the project level, this is, let's say, common ground for both of those tasks. And now, as you can see, the task jumped into the place where we were expecting it to be after the structure. Let's imagine we would like to do another thing. For instance, after the whole sequence of electrical works performed by electrical team, we would like to the last subtask on flow number 10 to finish after external connection is ready. Let's say there is a reason for this. We can do this by clicking Add Dependency button and then this specific dependency, this horizontal line. Then I'm just clicking at the end of this task and beginning of my last subtask on an electrical sequence. As you can see, now we have proper sequence, structure, external connection. In the meantime, electrical installations are being performed in the building, and the last subtask with, I don't know, some connection and maybe turning it on, it's made after the external connection is ready. What you probably notice is that it's not only the last subtask that moved after adding this dependency, but the whole sequence has just switched a little bit forward. You can see if I undo it, it looks like this, and then after implementation of this dependency, everything moves forward. That's because the algorithm wants to keep as much flow as it is possible. And since all those electrical works are performed by the same team within the one task which goes through all the locations, the algorithm wants to keep it not interrupted, so they can just enter, do their work across all the locations and leave. And of course, this is what we may need, because as you can see, the finish date doesn't change. They just go and smoothly perform the work. But maybe we want them to start a little bit earlier and then just do the last task a little bit later. What we can do, we can enter the task, go to the General tab and switch off Paste option. So all the electrical works start after the previous task finishes on each level, and then there's a small break for the electricians to wait for the external connection to be completed. That's all for today. Thank you for staying and see you next time.